There were so many times where I wanted to give up. I started to feel like, man, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. There's many times where like I really bang my head against the wall. The 5 is our plan to get to like 2 million, 3 million a month. Yo, what's going on, guys? Joel Kaplan here. I also have my creative director, Lyndon Chastain. And we're going to be trying out a completely different style of content. Now, for the last like 3-4 years, all I've been talking about is agencies, SMMA. We want to start talking about more advanced content. So, how we're scaling past 8 figures or planning to get to 9 figures, and really things that I believe aren't being addressed right now. There's definitely some people executing more advanced content very well, but most of the people out there are doing very mass market, beginner level, how to get rich business content. And the format we want to follow is essentially kind of like a video podcast that will also take the audio, put it on Spotify, put the video on YouTube, and so on and so forth. So I guess this is episode 1.
Episode 1.
Do
Let's do it.
you want to like do a quick minute intro on who you are, since you're going to be on these with me?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lyndon Chastain, and basically about a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago, Joel reached out to me and was just like, yo.
Because you had a YouTube channel that was crushing, right?
I did, yeah.
That's also why. Like, you had videos that had over 100K views. So
For sure. And I think you found me through my SMMA video, which, you basically sent me an email, asked if I wanted to collab, hopped on a call, and then, the rest is history. I came to work for you in Denver. So, yeah.
So, and then also Lyndon was based in Thailand. So he came all the way from Thailand.
Exactly. So came a long way for this.
And there's also a plot twist. Lyndon's going to be going back to Thailand in like 6 months.
Yeah, in roughly 6 months. So
we're going to crank out as much as possible, and then we'll have to find
a new Lyndon or something. Yeah.
So for episode 1, what I'd like to talk about is how to go from $1 million a year to $1 million a month. That's what I want to talk about. How does that sound?
I'm down for that.
Cool. I'm going to plan for about 20 minutes here. So I think to go from $1 million to a year to $1 million a month, like this was really hard for me for a while. So we had been stuck at around $500,000 a month, $600,000 a month, $700,000 a month for years, since 2019. And to go from $0 to $1 million a year, it happened very fast. But man, to go from $1 million a year to $1 million a month, like it took us years. And there were so many times where I wanted to give up. I started to feel like, man, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am as an entrepreneur. There's many times where like I really bang my head against the wall being like, how do you get there, right? And finally, we now are crushing $1 million a month. It's pretty wild. And I want to share the biggest lessons on that journey. So going from not being able to crack it to now it's very much attainable consistently for us. There's some major lessons there that I want to share. So any context you want to add, or should we dive in?
How many businesses are you doing that with?
Right now we have 5 businesses, but it's really 2 that are driving the most amount of revenue. So the 5 is our plan to get to like 2 million, 3 million a month and beyond that. But right now it's between 2 businesses. So the first lesson is like, you need more leverage. So if you want to get to $1 million a year, as long as you have product market fit, you know how to sell, you can get your clients great results, you have somewhat of a team in place, it's fairly simple to get to $1 million a year. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. It's absolutely hard, but it's definitely simple, right? You see people in Agency Lab, one of our companies, going from 0 to $1 million run rate within 30 days of launching, because it's like you just need ads, high ticket offer, sale closer, media buyer, project manager, some VAs, an offer that the market wants, ability to run ads to acquire clients. So you're essentially scaling your acquisition, and you can hit that. But to go from $1 million a year to $1 million a month, it just requires a lot more leverage. So as Peter Thiel likes to talk about, there's 4 types of leverage: capital, tech, labor, and media. So you essentially have to figure out how to take your efforts and 10x them. And I think a lot of people, when they hit $1 million a year, they're kind of stuck in like just doing more of the same. But to get to $1 million a month, you have to have a radical shift in how you attack, like how you execute as an entrepreneur. You can't just do it all on your own anymore. You can't just be the main person leading the way. You need to have much more volume. And at this point, effort is going to start to give you diminishing returns. You need to find other forms of leverage. So I'll give you a few. Right now, capital. Anytime we start a new business now, I'm taking about $50,000 to $100,000 and investing right into the business from the start, building out the team, putting a CEO in place, and running ads right out of the gate. Even if that means for the first few months, we're barely making money or even losing money. So with the third company we launched in the financial services space, like I just got the numbers this week, Monday through Friday, we haven't gotten this full 7 days, but like we're negative on ad spend. But in 3 months, the idea is that it's very profitable. But I'm only able to do that because I can leverage capital to move faster, put a team in place so that things are happening much more quickly than if I was just doing it all on my own. If I was the one taking the sales calls, if I was the one running the ads, if I was the one doing everything, if I was the CEO in each one of those companies. So that's an example of capital. An example of labor. Now, I don't start a company without a CEO in place. All of my companies now have a main person who's driving it forward. And again, this allows me to have more leverage because now I'm not the one running it. Obviously, my personal brand, that's media. That has given me so much more leverage and being able to reach out to people like you that are much more qualified, much more skilled and say, hey, do you want to come be a part of this? And then you're much more likely to say yes because of who I am. That's leverage. So I can attract much higher quality team members, which makes it easier to make money in the long run. Like, think about it. I've said to you, well, maybe you could tell them about like the deal that I gave you, right? Of like, hey, let's do a rev share if you can handle the organic content for these brands.
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, with some of the brands that we're launching, they're doing, like you said, around 500, 600, 700K a month already just through ads. But there's no organic channel at the moment. So basically, what Joel offered me was essentially I would take a percentage of all the organic revenue that comes through by just creating the pages, making the content, and handling all of that side myself. And that deal is very attractive to me because it allows me to have an unlimited like income potential. Correct. So that's like one of
And
the
I'm
reasons.
not the one posting it. I mean, you're coming up with all the ideas. You're pretty much executing it and saying, hey, Joel, what do you think about this?
For sure. And I mean, we brainstorm together as well. But I think that, like that allows me to have more creativity and like also allows me to have my income have like a way higher cap. So it's like a win-win. And that's like one of the benefits that I get from being here.
Yeah. So I think like that's an example of like leverage, right? I
Yeah.
use my personal brand to bring someone as talented as you. And then I'm saying, hey, why don't you take the lead on building out these organic channels for acquisition for all these new companies? And now, like, I'm not doing most of it. You're doing the heavy lifting in terms of thinking about the strategy, executing the strategy. Like, pretty much what we've decided is Lyndon is going to give me 2 weeks worth of content and be like, hey, Joel, what do you think about it? And then we'll kind of tweak from there. But you're doing most of that heavy lifting up front. And I think most entrepreneurs to get to 1 million, it's all their ideas, their execution, because they don't have leverage. So that's what I mean by leverage. That's the number one thing. Second thing is you need a bigger vehicle. And we could talk, I'm going to do a whole nother, video podcast on this one. You need a bigger vehicle because most vehicles naturally tap out unless you end up changing the model. So here's what I mean. Let's say I want to start a Facebook ad agency or a TikTok ad agency for chiropractors, running ads for chiropractors, and I want to acquire all my clients through paid ads. Okay? That's the model. At some point, that's going to cap out. Let's say you're spending $30K a month on ads to acquire chiropractors as clients to then run TikTok ads on their behalf. It's at around $30K a month, that model is going to cap out. So you're going to have to then either add back-end products that you can sell those clients, like recruiting, like a mastermind, like training, or things like SEO, Google Ads. You can add more services, or you can add more channels to acquire chiropractors. So now instead of using ads to acquire chiropractors, you could do cold email. You could go to events. You can find strategic partnerships. You could do cold calling. But now you're changing the dynamic of the business, right? So if you're like, hey, I just want to build a business where I run ads, I get chiropractors on the phone, I close them, and I run TikTok ads for them, and that's the business you want to run, it's going to have a certain plateau. And I think what happens is you have to get really clear on what kind of business you want to run, right? Like when I ran Atlas Digital, could we have scaled by adding more back-end offers to upsell chiropractors on? Yes, but we didn't want to. We just wanted to run Facebook ads. That's it. And we wanted to run ads to acquire those clients, and then we wanted to run ads for them and keep it cookie cutter. We wanted to keep it copy and paste. And the problem with that is that every model of how you're structuring the business has a natural cap, assuming you're skilled, by the way. But that's kind of a given. Let's say that you are playing to your highest level of skill. Each model is going to have a cap. So then what happens is in order to scale, most people change the model. So they'll be like, okay, well, we want to run ads to acquire chiropractors, to run TikTok ads for them. And now we're spending $30K a month. We can't keep spending because the cost per acquisition is going up too much. So then what happens is they switch the model. They're like, okay, let's build a mastermind for chiropractors, or let's add a done with you program, or let's go after dentists, right? And they're like, and that's what we were going to do. Before COVID hit, we launched Atlas Dental and we scaled it up to $80K a month. And the plan was we were going to go after each medical niche and keep it really simple. What I've realized is to get to $1 million a month, it's a lot easier to just find vehicles where you don't have to change the model that have way more scale. So like how many people buy toilet paper?
Everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. Okay, cool. What type of people can go to Starbucks?
Anyone with above $5.
That's maybe what, like 13, 14, like you're probably not. Well, I guess you could even go younger and buy like a snack or something. Yeah, I guess
sure.
so. So even then it's like your total addressable market is so big. So I think like the bigger the vehicle, right? And maybe vehicle is not even the best word. It's like the bigger the runway, given your model, the easier it is to scale. So it's like if your model is, I want to run ads to acquire clients, and I just want to do TikTok ads for them, and I want to focus on this very tiny niche, my runway is going to be very short. And it's just way easier to find a model that has a much longer runway, if that makes sense. Because then you could just keep rinsing and repeating and doing it over and over and over and over and over again. It's kind of like, yeah.
So how does that work? Because I know you don't want to go after too big of a model in the beginning. How does that work in kind of building up to like jumping up models like as you go along in your journey?
Well, I think you should start with a niched model. This, when I say don't change niches, I'm really speaking to people that are just starting out that are all over the place. But then at some point you're going to cap that out. There's an inflection point. And what happens is people try to force more growth and they start doing things outside of their model. They'll add a call center as an upsell and essentially build a whole secondary business. They'll start going to events like crazy to try to build more strategic partnerships. And you can do that, right? If you're like, I just want to build the biggest chiropractor agency at all costs, I'm going to go ahead and build it. But if you're like, I just want to follow this model where I run ads to get clients and then I run the same type of ad for them, it's going to tap out. So then what happens is, let's say that naturally that model plateaus at like 100, 200K a month, then it's really hard to force your way to grow to the $1 million a month. Whereas if you just find a model where it's easier to scale that, then it's just way easier to get to $1 million a month. So I'll give you an example, right? Like with Agency Lab, we target people that have already started a marketing agency, and there's not that many people in the world that want that, right? And that also have the thousands of dollars to invest into a program like that. Whereas people that want to get into real estate, like let's say you launch a real estate offer, that opens you up to millions of people that want to get into real estate, acquiring properties. Most successful people have thought about acquiring real estate at some point or another. So it opens you up so much. It opens you up to all these different demographics of people that maybe want to retire and just have some real estate properties, people that have money just sitting there and they want to invest it into real estate, people that just want to build a career as a real estate investor. Like it just opens you up. People that want to lower their taxes by acquiring real estate. There's just so much more there. And you could just keep running the same play over and over and over and over again. So I think the takeaway is this: understand what model you want to build for your business, what you want it to look like, understand its plateau, and know that if you find a model that has a longer runway, it's going to be way easier to scale to $1 million a month. So if I'm going after people that make over 100K a year as my target demographic and I'm going to sell them on a real estate program, that's going to be millions of people. Whereas me targeting people that want to start marketing agencies and are willing to invest, $10,000 to get consulting, that market is very limited. So it's just going to have a more natural plateau. Now, can I keep building the Joel Kaplan brand and slowly but surely convincing all these people to start marketing agencies by giving away free courses and all that? Yes, but it's just harder. I'm forcing the growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I know it's
100%.
advanced. That's kind of the point.
No, yeah, it makes complete sense. The one question I would have is like, for someone who's just getting started out in business, but they want to build a giant business, should they go straight to try to aim for like $1 million a month business model?
No, of course not. I think you should start out in more niched businesses that are very specific, and that's better even if they have a natural plateau. I think what happens is you see people that hit 100K a month, for example, and then they stay there and they stay there and they stay there and they stay there and they stay there. And why is that? It's because they're still playing the same model, trying to figure it out, like running ads to get like chiropractors on the phone, close them on ads. And it's like at some point you have to pivot, right? And you're either going to you have two options. You can either change the model. So again, instead of just offering ads, you could offer SEO, you could offer a mastermind, you could offer recruiting. You could change the model by going after other industries. Or you could say, hey, let me go find a model that I can just keep rinsing and repeating that has much more scale. Those just tend to be harder to compete in, right? Like merchant processing. How many businesses need merchant processing? Like take payments.
Every single one.
Every single one. But it's also harder to compete in. So that one has much more scale where you could keep running the same play over and over and over and over again. It's just harder, right? It's harder to start out like that. So I think as a beginner, I would definitely niche down. That's why you have so many people going to SMMA, going into dropshipping, going into these business models, because it's kind of already laid out in this kind of like nice setup that's like easy to work in. It's kind of like bowling, and you have what's it called? Those
the lane blockers, right?
Yeah, the
Whatever
lane
they-
blockers.
whatever they're
It's
called.
kind of like that. Like, whereas the farther up you go, you want to go into bigger and bigger businesses. That's why Grant Cardone transitioned from sales training to real estate. It's just way bigger. How many companies are willing to invest $30,000 in sales consulting? It's not as many as how many people that are wanting to make passive income from real estate. This is why Hermosi transitioned from gym launch to acquisition.com. This is why Alex Becker went from selling a YouTube mastermind to launching Hyros, which is like, who needs ads? Who needs tracking for their ads? Everyone that's running ads. That's a much bigger runway. We could sell the same product over and over and over and over again. Yeah, number two, it's like, again, just to reiterate, you want to hit it's a lot easier to hit $1 million a month if you have a longer runway within your model. Otherwise, you're going to be forced to change it if you want to hit $1 million a month. You can't just keep running the same play over and over and over again. So number three, like leadership team to operate as CEOs of each division. I think like what happens is to get to $1 million a year, you're the CEO and you're managing every division. You're managing client success, you're managing marketing, you're managing sales, you're managing operations. And what happens is you essentially need to find a CEO for each department. You need to find someone that talented. You need to find a CEO of sales, a CEO of marketing, a CEO of client success. Otherwise, you're going to be your biggest bottleneck. It's pretty much impossible to scale without having that full leadership team. And by leadership team, I don't mean having a business partner. I mean actually having an executive team that can run each department and that you can fully trust that they're running it really well. Are they going to be perfect? Of course not. And neither are you if you're running the department. No one is perfect, but it's like with content. I'm like, Lyndon, you run content, figure it out and we can collaborate.
Yeah,
I can come in and give you ideas, but you're running the creative team.
for sure.
Like when you delegate stuff to the editors, do I tell you what to do or what to say?
No, it's all me.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I'm going to do it. This is what needs to get done. You're the one following up with people. So this is one of the big things that I think people don't realize is to get to $1 million a month, again, you need more leverage, which means you need more support. And an easy way to do that is to find people that can run essentially many companies within your company. So another way to look at it is if you have one big company that's doing 8 figures, you really have like 5 companies doing multiple 7 figures. And I think like each one of those companies is the department.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that's number 3. Number 4 is you're going to need to either figure out how to increase your LTV or go way higher volume. So like the wealthiest companies in the world are not in the middle of the road in terms of LTV. They're either selling to the masses like Starbucks, like toilet paper companies, or they're Salesforce or McKinsey, and they're selling $1 million a year contracts with massive upsells. So one of the easiest levers to pull to get to $1 million a month is you're going to have to either be in a model where you have way more volume, or you need to be in a model where you have much higher LTV. So for example, the model that took me to $500K a month was selling a $10K package. The model that took me to $1 million a month was selling a $20K and a $40K package, cash collected, all at once, not payment plans. So it's like with Agency Lab, we got a $10K program, and we also allowed people to come in for as low as six payments. So I think with our new offer, it's $20K, no payment plan, and $40K, no payment plan. So it's like immediately we increased our LTV, and it allowed us to scale so much faster. Think about it. To get to $100K a month selling a $20K product, you only need to sell 5 people. However, selling an $1,000 a month product or service to get to $100K, you need to sell 100 people. So it's 5 to 100, it's 20 times harder, or 20 times more people that you're having to sell. So it's either that, or you go the Andrew Tate or the model where it's like you sell millions of people on a $49 a month thing. That's how you can get to $1 million a month selling to the masses. So you're either going to have to figure out, again, to go from $1 million a year to $1 million a month, you're going to have to figure out how to either radically increase your LTV or radically increase your volume. You're going to have to solve for one of those two things. All right, number 5. Let's just end it here. I know I said 7, last one. So number 5, to get to $1 million a month, you're going to need to have a bigger total addressable market. Or again, you're going to have to go extremely niche, but with massive back-end potential. So think like enterprise clients. It's going to be very hard for you to hit $1 million a month if you are in a very small market. And can you do it? Sure. But it's really fucking hard. So it's like, I know there's someone out there that's going to say, oh, just stick to your niche. You can make it work. You can scale it to 8 figures. But there's a reason why there's companies that hit 8 figures way more easily than others, because they have a bigger total addressable market, or they're in a niche that has a lot of money and can easily increase their LTV. So I'll give you an example. There's this mastermind that has a 5-year retention rate, but their most broke clients make between $1 to $5 million a year, and their wealthiest clients make over $100 million a year. So it's like, of course, paying for a $30,000 a year mastermind, they can keep paying that every year, no problem. Like $30,000 out of $1 million to $5 million in revenue is not much. But if you're doing, $30K a month, then 30,000 is a lot. That's 1/12 of your entire revenue. So I think the other big lesson is, if you want to get to $1 million a month faster, you're gonna have to have either a bigger total addressable market where you could sell to more and more and more people, or so for example, the real estate one. It's a great example. You could sell to. That's why, like, you see real estate investing offers, flipping offers, creative finance, real estate offers, wholesaling, all those offers do very well because there's a lot of people that want to get into it. Whereas like an agency offer, scale your agency, it's a lot smaller. So the only way I could make it work is if I was working with like VaynerMedia and Ogilvy and some massive agencies where I would charge them $1 million a year minimum. Then I can make it work to scale to $1 million a month. I would only need, like 12 clients. So I guess, the last lesson, it's way easier to scale to $1 million a month if you have a bigger total addressable market, or if you are extremely niche, but you have a massive back-end potential where you could really charge a lot for those clients where they're paying you 30, 40, 50K a month or even more.
Yeah.
So any questions there?
Don't think so.
Did that make sense for the most part?
Yeah, 100%.
We'll get to the last, the other ones on the next episode. So,
Cool.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching.